Ladies and gentlemen, Big Herald News.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hoary News. Kia ora, Chewie.
Kia ora, Pat. How we doing?
Doing all right? You know what? Can I be really honest with you? I'm doing okay. Well, that's a nice
cup of tea.
Oh, that's a nice big cup of tea. I watched a movie called there's a Colin Farrell on Netflix movie. The Ballad of a Small Man or something like that, The Beating of a Small Man. It's about a dude who was a gambler and in Macau, I think it is. It was quite interesting, but I had a little nana nap in the middle of it because I was tired. But I'm doing pretty good, and I've got a bit of a surprise.
Sleepy.
I've got a bit of a surprise. You ready? Now I'm going to put myself in full screen, and you're still going to be with us, Chewie.
Brace yourself.
But I need to show the whānau something. You ready?
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring it up. All right, I'm going for my arm's down here because I'm going to lift it up into the screen. Here's a little surprise for you, whānau. You ready? Here we go. You ready? Here it comes. How about this?
Hey, they're digging their boats. There we go. Yay, they're here. So I take it that Customs didn't find the bag of drugs that was in that box. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm not very good at this.
They didn't find it. We can do it again. Yeah, they came in today. So what we'll do is we'll put them on the store probably for next week. My lovely wife has designed a cardboard backing, so we'll be able to attach the pins to a cardboard backing and send them as sets of 6 or 3 or whatever. So I'm going to wait to put these on until we get those cardboard backings. We sent them to the printers this morning. We might have them back by tomorrow, probably at latest we'll have them back by Monday, and that's when we'll put the Nicky No boats into the store. Yeah, exciting though. Got the full hexa group. Six, whatever. All 6 of them are now in the house. So, and I got to say, of all those 6 that are in the house, it hasn't. I know I said this a while ago about tax work less, tax wealth more, and how every single order had one of those in it. It's not quite that anymore. It's not every single order. But I got to tell you, probably 90% of the orders coming in have tax work less, tax wealth more pins. So they are the ones that have sold most of all, these guys here. We still have, we're not going to run out in the next 5 days. And we ordered 100 of them. And when it gets down to 50, I'll order another 100. And that's all. I'll just try and keep the stocks. But just so you know, these ones here are going like hotcakes, baby cakes. So yeah, it's a busy old time in the merch store. Yeah. Anyway, so that was my little surprise for you. You got a cup. I got a Nicky No Boats enamel pin delivered. So today on the show, we are going to have. There's actually quite a bit of New Zealand politicians on media. Chloe Swarbrick. I actually have to go and have a look up the way I wrote up the show today. Because the way I wrote up the show, I think, was the perfect description of Heather du Plessis-Allan, and I got to make sure I read it right. So today on the show, we're going to have a look at Chloe Swarbrick on Newstalk ZB talking homelessness with Heather du Plessis-Allan, offending her white lady sensibilities, trying to find a solution that homeless people who shout, posing and then locking them up overnight being the best solution. Everything out of Heather du Plessis-Allan's conversation was, yeah, but we're not talking about those ones. We're talking about the ones who aren't nice and shout at people. We should lock them up overnight. So it really is a ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. And so I've described that as Heather du Plessis-Allan's white being offended. Her white lady sensibilities have been offended because that kind of come across as pearl clutching and in quite a serious way. So yes, we'll have a look at that. But also Nicola Willis was on Herald Now this morning. And, Ryan Bridge Broken Clock is right twice a day. Asked a good question. Who's to blame for unemployment? We'll have a look at that. And also Kieran and theBISH on breakfast had a good old time talking about homelessness, and also talking about, oh, hello. Sorry, messages coming to me. And also really interesting into the conversation when they were talking about people leaving the country. So there's this thing to do with the unemployment numbers. So they talk about unemployment numbers, but the reality is if 6.3 million people, I exaggerate, hadn't left New Zealand to go to Australia, then those unemployment numbers would be exponentially higher because they'd be in New Zealand and probably unemployed. So in other words, the government's unemployment numbers are look better than they should because of the flood of people leaving the country. It's not good to have the people leaving the country, but the government is getting some kind of positive response by that, by it helping their numbers, even though the numbers aren't that crash hot. So that was quite a good little conversation. And also finally, at some stage tonight, we're going to get Big HN whanau member Craig Renny on with us, who released a very good podcast today all about the unemployment. It's on Facebook and it's on YouTube. And it's on the audio podcast. Of course, I was thinking, what's the third one? And he's talking all about the unemployment numbers, what they are, goods, bads, and difference. But there's also been what appears to be a bit of a orchestrated attack against Wee Craig that we're going to show you. I say Wee Craig in a like a loving way. I'm not calling him little. I'm not. That's what I'm saying.
He's our Craig.
Yeah, he's our
if
Craig.
Anyone's going to bully him, it's going to be us because he's our Craig. And I'm going to call someone's mother if someone's gone after Craig. I'm going to war.
And when like a leak comes out of a national government within 3 days of them becoming, just hypothetically, becoming government, and that leak comes out of a cabinet meeting, and it's quite embarrassing, the leak that comes out, and what the national government does is they come out and they start talking about how dare someone leak our information rather than the information that's been leaked. It's a bit the same. It seems that there is a little bit of an orchestra from Simeon frickin' Brown as well, Minister of the Crown, spending his time tweeting about Craig Renny. It's like there's a bit of an orchestrated attempt to try and discredit Craig rather than talk about the unemployment numbers. So it's a bit of that kind of squirrel, look away. So I could show you the tweets, but what I thought I'd do is we'd just grab Craig for 5 minutes tonight because he's better to explain the differences, because they're calling kind of hypocrisy between two tweets, and it's better for me to get Craig to explain it than me and fumble my uneducated ass around it. So, and there is one other little thing which we may or may not talk about to do with Lifeline and another group called Whakama Tutu. It seems under this government. Remember the other day when we were talking about Karen talking about we need to educate people on Karen Shaw, Minister. We need to educate people on alcohol. And we're like, we agree. Now put your money where your mouth is, government, and start educating them. You can't say we need to educate people about alcohol and then do nothing to fund the education of people around alcohol. Well, it's sort of exactly the same, because this government often talks about the importance of mental health and getting out there and helping with mental health and making sure how important mental health is, and the mental health minister for the first time. And at the same time, they're defunding mental health organisations. And I don't know much about Whakama Tutu, but the other one is Lifeline. Lifeline's lost funding as well. And so you've got a government stressing the importance of mental health in New Zealand. We're Kiwi Skirts in Wellington, earthquake in Wellington. Okay, we're here. Magenta here right now. I'll text Magenta. Get Magenta to jump on and tell us what's happening. Keep talking, Craig.
Look at that. We've just geolocated everybody in the chat.
Magenta. I'll go earthquake. Jump on the live and tell. Well, we could just get Craig as well. Should I just get Craig now? Because he's in Wellington.
Yeah.
Because he was going to talk about it. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Come join now.
I remember my first good Wellington earthquake. Yeah. 4.7.
Is it already out?
Yeah, just jumped on GeoNet.
That quick though.
Yeah, it's fuck people update it straight away. On your way to a door frame or under a table.
Earthquake. My sounds on. Can you hear my sound? I'm one of those people I'm not one of those people that has the sound on, but I was expecting a call today, so I put it on, and so now my phone's going tick 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 tick.
You know what I love about the GeoNet felt reports is there's always someone like miles away from it that's like, oh, I thought that was huge. Like, really? This guy?
That's like, what's that movie with John Travolta, and he can sense people, and he ends up having a tumor in his brain. Remember that? He did it quite soon after Pulp Fiction. It was sort of his big movie. Yep, Craig's on it, right? Craig's going to jump in and join us. So he's in the Wellington region. I don't think he's quite in Wellington. Where was it located exactly?
Very much Wellington from the looks of it.
Okay, so like central Wellington, like in the area.
Just off the coast.
How deep? Oh yeah, that's
47 kilometers. But yeah, it looks like lots of people have felt it.
Yeah, that's not heaps. That's not very deep. I mean, it's not a 6 kilometer one. Like I think Christchurch was only 6 kilometers down, but 47, that's pretty low.
Apparently I'm looking at the wrong map, but I'm having to
well done.
live.
That was fake information. Let's get Craig in, because he can tell us if he felt the shake. And then we can talk about the Craig stuff tonight. Welcome to the show, Craig Renny. Morning, sir. Evening, sir.
Good evening, gents. How are you?
Yeah, good. We're just talking away, setting up the show, and the chat starts going, earthquake! And I went, hey, Craig's coming on tonight. It seems to be in that region. Did you just experience an earthquake?
I did. It's always an exciting feeling when you live on the side of a cliff, as I do. Feel an earthquake. But no, everyone's fine here. It was a bit of a rumble. There was no big shocks, but it's been a while since we've had one. So it was definitely a thing. At first I thought, the wind's getting up, because occasionally the wind, gets so much that you move it. But no, it was definitely a strong but not a severe earthquake.
I've never really experienced a significant earthquake.
Mate, you simply must.
Grew up in Auckland, never there. Felt a few in the South Island, felt a few in Wellington when I've been visiting. But my experience of earthquakes are the Christchurch earthquakes whilst working as a talkback host on ZB. And it's just, I know for a long time after those quakes, when you had those tens of thousands of aftershocks, you could hear people talking, and it was absolutely PTSD. Like, that's the correct word to use for people 100%. Who are going through it. I've got like 4 or 5 computers. You probably like this, Chewie. You get an old computer and then you upgrade it, but you don't get rid of the old one because it's still got all the stuff on the hard drive. I've got like 4 computers like that sitting around my home that I've been meaning to go through, and a bunch of them have a bunch of calls that were made to me during that time period. And I thought I should get it out and build a bit of a database and, show people a bit more of the story of Pat broadcasting, and that's one of the big parts of it. So, yeah. Oh, well, but what I hear you saying, Craig, it was noticeable but not serious?
Yeah, it was definitely one that you go, felt that. But it wasn't one that you were racing towards doors or anything, or wondering where the emergency kit was.
All right. Hey, we were going to get you on tonight for a few minutes, so thank you for being our intrepid reporter. But let's talk about, I think you described this to me as a bit of a coordinated attack. Is that fair? Or attack the right word? And a coordinated jabbing, poking, is that what we're looking at?
Certainly that's how it felt.
Okay.
Certainly, the way I would probably characterize it is a coordinated distraction rather than a coordinated attack.
So Simeon Brown started it all off, and Simeon Brown sent it out about 1:30 yesterday afternoon. And he said, is this the same person? I thought for a moment maybe he'd had a head injury and he was actually genuinely asking for help, but I think not. So Simeon Brown puts out a, like your 89-year-old grandfather go, is this the same person? But no. In the first, he puts out 2 tweets. In the first one from September 12th, 2023, Craig Renny says this: most of the main economic indicators are largely as advertised at budget in May. Unemployment peaks at 5.4, before falling to 4.6. Inflation falls to 2.5 by June 2025. Wages rise faster than inflation. Overall, this is better than many had feared would be the case. Tweet number one.
Yeah.
And you can tell that Simeon Brown's done this because he's literally just got out his highlighter and then taken this photograph of it with a camera from the looks of things. He then sends out another tweet sent by Craig Renny, this time using purple. And you say in this one, unemployment reached a 9-year, I guess, high of 5.3%. Yep. The labour market took another turn for the worse. Unemployment growing, underemployment growing, fewer hours being worked, and wages are not keeping up with inflation. This data is another sign the economy is not working. A thread. We'll get onto the thread. And so then what happened at what time was it? 1:30ish, and then at 3 o'clock, Chris Pink retweeted it, which, we retweeted, but he says this: Labour rewriting history as well as economics, laughing till I'm crying emoji, every single time like clockwork. And then at 1:54, so that's just after it was sent, David Farrar. Now, this is interesting because this is not a retweet. So David Farrar has taken the exact same images, right? Same highlighter, same everything, but hasn't retweeted it. So hasn't given Simeon Brown credit for it, tweeted it out and says this. So we're all very clear, 5.4% unemployment is fine, but 5.3 is a disaster. And then from there, Liam Hare, and I only know that because of the name of his thing, retweeted David Farrar's at 2:13. Now, some could argue, Craig, is a retweet a coordinated attack, yada, yada, yada. But with David Farrar taking the images and making them his own, it definitely does then turn into a multiple pronged sort of thing. It's not just someone being retweeted dozens of times. It's at least a double point of entry for exactly the same information. So what we wanted to do was, rather than me trying to clumsily talk over what it is, they're calling you hypocrites, is what they're doing, that we should give you a chance to explain what these two tweets are, what they mean, why they were written. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thanks, Pat. There are lots of iterations on this theme of the same tweets, and lots of them were put out by other people. Those are just some recognizable right-wing figures for the audience. Liam Hare, for example, does a lot of morning reports, 9 to noons political podcasts, for example. And he's a notable National Party figure in the same way as David Farrar is. So on the first tweet, if you can go to that first one.
See, Craig's good at doing this because when he's doing his podcast, he always goes, "Can we bring up that slide, please?" So it's like we're in Craig's own podcast right now. We could put your branding up. There you go.
So on the first one, what we see is unemployment peaks at 5.4% before falling, right? Fine, right? Inflation's 2.5% by June, fine. Wages rise faster than inflation, fine. Overall, this is better than many had feared would be the case. I'm not agreeing that these are good numbers. Unemployment peaking at 5.4% should be unacceptable to any government. What I'm saying is that the numbers were better than the market had been forecasting when the budget was when the pre-fu numbers were put out. So these numbers all relate to the pre-election economic and fiscal update. So what I'm saying here is that this is better than some market forecasters had been saying was likely to be the case. I'm not saying that unemployment at 5.4% is acceptable. I work for the New Zealand Council of Trade Unions. There is not a universe in which the CTU would accept unemployment peaking at 5.4% as being acceptable.
But what's being said, obviously, is this was 12th of September 2023. The election was, October 2023? So what they're saying is, under a Labour government, you seem fine with this. That's what they're inferring with this, yeah?
And what they're saying is that me saying it's better than many people would had feared would be the case is me agreeing with that as a conclusion and saying this is fine. This is absolutely not fine. At the time, the CTU was saying that we needed to do something. We had unemployment rising, people needed help, and we wanted the government, whoever got in office on these numbers, to help tackle that unemployment problem. And in fact, we had written a series of documents, an Inflation and Incomes Act, building a better Aotearoa, and our election briefing, all of which said we needed to be tackling unemployment because it was rising far too quickly, and it was likely to rise particularly for young people, for women, for Māori, for Pacifica, all of the people who, guess what, have been impacted disproportionately by unemployment since.
Yeah. Okay. And so then we go forward a couple of years.
Yep.
So November, so this week, you're saying that 5.3, the labour market took another turn for the worse, unemployment growing. So they're saying that now you're saying 5.3 is terrible under a national government, although they're implying that you thought 5.4 under a Labour government was fine. So your thoughts?
So, and I'm saying both of them are terrible numbers.
Yep.
However, if we fast forward a year from that pre-fu set of numbers, we weren't expecting the unemployment rate to rise as much as it did. And certainly the unemployment number, the number of people who were on job seekers, rose at every economic update. So if we were running the set of numbers just before at the pre-fu numbers, we were expecting about 197,000 people to be on job seekers at their peak. We get to the first budget 24, and that rises again to 204,000 people who we were expecting to be on job seekers. That then rises again to 218,000 at the last budget. So it's risen by nearly, and it's forecast to rise by about 50,000 since this government took office. And that wasn't forecast at the election. In fact, the number that's been forecast since has gone up by about 26,000 since the election. And when we get to the half-year economic and fiscal update in December, it'll go up again because we're already breaching that number.
Can we also get to the part of this conversation is you've got the number 4, I believe, Luxon, Willis, Bishop, Brown. You've got the number 4 in National, a minister with a lot of spare time, obviously, to be coming after a CTU economist and actually spending time doing this. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, as we said before you came on, Craig, it's a bit like when people complain about the leak from a government and how it leaked rather than the information on the leak. It feels like it's a diversionary tactic to go, let's not talk about the numbers, let's talk about this guy who is actually a hypocrite. So how do you feel about having the number 4 in National sort of having a crack? And then, yeah, I mean, it's a strange day.
Well, on one level, Pat, I'm delighted because it's telling me, because the National Party are so poll-driven and so focus group-driven that it must be working. The message about unemployment, the message about the labour market, the message about the fact that things aren't working is clearly hitting home. Otherwise, they wouldn't be fighting back in this way. But as you say, we have someone who is ostensibly the Minister for Health, who, in theory, has a full-time job, spending their time targeting me, CTU economist. Now, I'm delighted if they think I'm that important. But there's, you would think they had something better to do, simply, trying to clean up the absolute horror show that is the health service on their watch. The government underspent on the workforce of the health service by $500 million last year. So they had programmed to spend $500 million more on doctors, nurses, and other allied professions inside the health service, but they chose not to. They chose to not spend that money. Instead, they chose to save that money, which made the books look better when the financial statements of government came out. They could have ring-fenced that money for, say, things like, I don't know, nurses' pay settlements or doctors' pay settlements. But instead, they chose not to do that. Simeon Brown, rather than spending his time talking, highlighting documents and sending them to me, again, as flattering as that is to me, could actually be getting round the table with doctors or nurses or any of the other allied medical health professionals and actually sorting out the fact that he's offering them below inflation pay rises. But if you want to talk about unemployment, I would be delighted. This is the highest rate. This is the highest number of people unemployed in this country since March 1994.
Yeah, 30 years.
Right? There are 2.58 million fewer hours being worked than this time 2 years ago. If you think about that in terms of years of work, if you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right, that works out at about 1,200 years less work being
That is,
worked.
but that doesn't make sense, though, Craig, because this government's all about productivity. That's what they're always about: productivity,
And
productivity,
and it is
productivity.
improving. It is improving the efficiency with which people are ending up at the WINS office. And essentially, what we're seeing is an economy that's not working. We're seeing an economy where people are ending up working fewer hours, where there are 39,000 fewer full-time jobs than there were just 2 years ago. And we're seeing an economy where people are being paid, on average, 2.1% when inflation is 3%. So, delighted to talk about it, but let's be honest about what's inside those two tweets. In both of those situations, unemployment was unacceptable. It's not acceptable to have unemployment at 5.3% or at 5.4%. The difference is, I believe, that if the previous government had been in office, there would be programs tackling that issue now. This government is more content with just taking benefits off 18, 19-year-olds so that it can reduce that number artificially by 4,000 to 5,000.
Craig, Chewie, were you going to say something there before we let Craig go?
Yeah. I was just going to say, look, yes, they've talked about productivity and that sort of thing. They've also talked about go for growth. Maybe this is just setting the scene for go for growth, because if you start from the bottom, everything's growth. Is that not true?
Well, it's certainly, we've heard two ministers now talk about, green shoots in the economy, and that, they can see, growth returning, right? And growth will undoubtedly return next quarter, because we fell so fast last time round. It would be astonishing if we did not. But if we see growth of less than 0.9%, then the economy is still smaller than it was 6 months ago. In fact, the economy right now is 1.3% smaller than it was at the election. So we've not so much, reached the bottom and we're seeing green shoots. We've essentially bounced at the bottom of the cliff. And from here on in, it's whether or not we see any growth delivering any economic consequences, any wage consequences for working people. Otherwise, we're just simply seeing some return to growth, and working people are still suffering as a consequence.
Before we go, Craig, how many people are unemployed at the moment?
160,000, about the same population as that of Tauranga.
How many people have fled to Australia, give or take?
New Zealand passport holders, about a little bit over 74,000, one every 7 minutes and 11 seconds.
So the thing that's happening as well with this government and their unemployment number of 5.4 is they're getting a bump because of those people who didn't stay in New Zealand. So if it was 234,000, which is the 160 plus 74, that's going to be more like an 8% unemployment rate, isn't it?
It'll certainly be just shy of 7. My colleague Ganesh Nana calculated it on the previous quarter's data before the new data came out and got to 6.7%. So but what's also true is that because we're working so many fewer hours, people are working part-time. You only need to work 1 hour to not be unemployed. So if we look at the underemployment figure, which is the important figure, underutilization across the economy is now 406,000 people. That's a record. Wow. There are 411,000 people who are in receipt of a main benefit. Right? These are both record sets of numbers. Right? The economy's not working, and the welfare state's not working, and it's why people feel so poor. Because if inflation's 3% and you're getting at best a 2% pay rise, you're still falling behind the cost of living, and you're likely to do so at least for a bit longer. 68% of workers got a pay rise less than inflation in the last year.
All right. Hey, Craig, I will be drafting an email to Simeon Brown tonight to come on Locked Out with Craig Renny, because if he wants to know if it's the same person, probably the best idea would be to have him come have a chat with you. So we'll see how that goes and what kind of response we get from that over the next few days. But I will write that email tonight.
I'll be looking forward. I'll be sending the minister an OIA requesting all communications between him and David Farrar for the week leading up to this particular date.
Yes.
Before we let you go, completely off topic, but I've noticed the lovely Bree, I think, is in the chat. I stole something off her Facebook page that you guys might be interested in. David Seymour's comments. I've had parents call me exasperated that their child's education has turned into an eternal marae visit with karakia before every class and Māori words littered through their maths questions. It is possible to respect the value and place of the Māori language and culture without artificially inserting it into every part of its life, yada, yada, yada. Bree's response, David Seymour refused an OIA request for evidence of phone calls he made about parents' complaints on Te Reo Māori in schools. He claimed the calls were in his ACT party role, not his ministerial role, but he publicly posted about the calls. Bree, you're very good at this. You're very good at this. But he publicly posted about the calls on his official MP Facebook page, tying them directly to his official capacity. Past ombudsmen are clear. Information produced in an official role is official by default. Ministers must prove if a, quote, different hat, end quote, applies. Seymour hasn't, and it goes on. So just a thought, little tidbits to just wet your whistle for your OIA investigation there as well, Craig.
Thank you. Once again, a government minister hiding behind the OIA rules here, when if they're happy to say it on Facebook, they should be happy to produce the evidence on the other side.
Yeah.
That's the least we would expect.
Thank you for jumping in for this 18-minute, 5-minute phone call. That's how we roll. And we'll talk to you again super soon. And we'll see you down in Dunedin in the weekend of the 5th, 6th, eh? Looking forward to it.
Indeed. Looking forward to it.
All right, dude. All the best.
Thank you.
Cheers,
couple of quick chats and then we'll...
sorry,
yes.
just real quick.
You go.
This is actually the second time that David Seymour's done that over an OIA. So I remember someone doing an OIA on his comments around the school lunches and the emails he was getting from students about how much they were enjoying their lunches.
Right, yeah.
And there were no such emails.
Yeah.
So he's a liar and he doesn't learn.
Can I also say one thing? This is going to sound real arrogant about learning. You know, if you come for Craig, he is going to come and bring receipts back at you. I mean, I'm sure you all noticed it, but I was chuckling then when actually the conversation talking about these tweets turned into Craig dismantling the argument about unemployment and everything around it, going into the health system and everything. And sometimes you've got to be careful what smoke you ask for. And it kind of reminded me a bit, Chewie, of our little conversation with Mr. Duncan Garner, who had a bit of a laugh at us because he's got 40,000 YouTube subscribers and we've got 20,000. So he's double. So he had a laugh at us and basically told us that we should keep trying. And after this whole kind of week of clips and stuff have panned out, we've done 150,000 views about the Duncan Garner thing. He's done about 12,000 about us. So you might have a bigger audience, technically, but your content can't keep up, sir. And I don't like talking numbers, but the only reason I'm doing it is because he had a crack and basically did that thing where he goes, well, I'm bigger, so I'm more important. Okay. And he has been very quiet. He's been very quiet after that. So maybe he learned.
Has he been very quiet?
He's been very quiet.
Has he been very quiet?
He's been very quiet.
Because the same person that sent me the clip that sicked us onto him the other day has sent me another clip. So we'll see how the show goes. Maybe we'll talk about that at the end of the show. We'll have another crack. Yeah,
we'll see, because we do have a full show to do, and we did kind of think, we'll talk to Craig for 5 minutes, so we will we'll keep trucking. Andrew says, Craig announcing your conquering of government win. I will send an invite, basically, honestly, as well, to Simeon Brown tonight. I'll send that invite. We did send an invite to Erica Stanford, didn't hear anything back. We'll send one to Simeon Brown, and I'll say, I'm producer of Craig Rennie's show, would love to have you, and see what he says. Arvid says, now the Earth Craig, and bring it to Simeon. You laugh. I don't get that. Are you explaining it to me?
It's because it's so tenuous. The Earthquake.
Yeah.
It's a very bad pun.
All right, let's have a look at Nikki No Boats. Oh, I should put my pin on. Nikki No Boats this morning on Herald Now with old mate Ryan. And he asked her a pretty interesting question, actually. It's like, who's to blame for unemployment? And they had a bit of a discussion, because what's happening is what we pointed out last night is there's lots of conversations, and Craig just mentioned it about green shoots, and we're getting lots of conversations about what is going to happen next. Except the problem is they've been doing that for 18 months. For 18 months, they've been telling us about what's going to happen next, and it hasn't happened yet. So we need to know when you're going to fix the economy like you promised. Apparently it's so broken, you need to fix it. When are you going to do that? It's like tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes, because when it's tomorrow, it's today. It's tomorrow. It's always tomorrow. It's always tomorrow. What happens to today? The people who are looking to get their bills paid today, if it's always tomorrow.
I'm just wondering, where do you apportion blame? When somebody doesn't have a job right now, is that their fault? Or as growth minister, is that your fault?
Well, the simple fact is, in an economy with higher unemployment, it is harder to find a job. And so I really feel for all those who want to work, are out there looking for a job, and they're finding it hard to seek work. And
the question was, whose fault is it? Where do we apportion blame? You've explained that.
She can't answer that.
Minister of Finance was just said, unemployment happens when it's harder to find a job. Thanks, Minister of Finance. Where do we apportion the blame, which was the question?
That's why our work to stabilise the foundations of the economy and then drive for greater growth is so important, because you don't do that for a GDP figure. You do that so that employers and businesses feel more confident about saying, actually, let's start something new up. Let's expand our operation.
But they're all telling you they're not doing that this time around. So you're talking, it's still to come, because businesses now are saying we're not going to bring on extra staff through Christmas. Even through our busy period, we're not going to bring on the extra staff. So you're saying what should happen, what could happen, what's going to happen. But even that example you're giving, if you hear business owners, they're not doing it. They're not comfortable to bring on extra staff at the moment or through the summer period.
Let's take on new workers, and we've been working hard to create those conditions.
I know you have, but the problem for you now is a political one, isn't it? Because people have heard this before. Mm-hmm. Like, this record is so old now.
Yes.
A year ago, we were being told that the green shoots were coming, and now we're being told it again. Like, does anyone actually believe it?
Well, I think they should, because...
I'm sorry, right? That's the wrong end of the question. It's not that people believe it. It's when are we going to see it? Like, you're going to continue saying it, Nicola Willis. I get that. Give me a date. Like, you guys want to be held accountable. You wanted to hold the last lot accountable. I'm giving Ryan his due credits for a couple of good questions today, but this is not critical necessarily. But the end of that question should have been when, not do we believe it? Because innately we don't. So when is the question we want. We want something measurable and tangible. We want a KPI, Mr. Luxon. When can we measure this outcome? When is it going to happen? We need a metric to say what you're saying is going to happen, then happens. Not do they believe it? Do people believe it? Do they wish upon a star, rub their hands together? Sorry.
The perfect answer. They should. They should believe it. Please believe me. Please. Can we just believe me? Don't ask me for numbers. Please don't.
Let's see what she says.
Economic history, what we see is this order of events. 1, inflation down, 2, interest rates down, then growth fixes, then unemployment comes down. That's the order of it. And actually, the unemployment rate we're experiencing now is lower than Labor were forecasting prior to the election would be the case at this point. There are actually fewer unemployed people than they had been picking there were. So we always knew post-COVID, there's no getting away from it. We were going to go through a difficult economic recovery as a country, given how badly overstimulated and overinflated things were. So we are going through that difficult recovery. And our government is doing everything we can to be pro-growth, whether it's those
we know what you're doing.
Breaks.
We know what you're doing. Yep. Minister,
but this is one of the difficulties is as we get stuck in the situation where I'm not even necessarily saying what the minister is saying there is wrong about, times after inflation, the times after COVID, but that's not what you were promising us. You weren't saying prior to the election, elect us, it's going to be really tough and hard and more people are going to be unemployed. You were saying elect us and we'll fix the economy. So you have to be measured based on the standard you set for yourself and the standard that people voted for you for. And it wasn't, well, it's going to be really hard and we're going to have more unemployment. It'll be sticking around for a long time. And, probably if we're honest, it's not going to get better until the second term. You weren't saying that. So we're not going to give you credit for that today. I've got another clip. Chewie, anything you want to say before that, though?
No, let's roll on and see what else she's got in her handbag.
Well, the next question is quite a good one as well. It's how does Nicola Willis, she is the growth minister, whatever the hell, that sounds like some kind of STD, but she's the growth minister. And the time to now ask it, seeing the economy has shrunk by 1.3%, how does the minister feel about growth this year?
How do you feel, like what, in a word, how do you feel about your progress in your year of growth as the growth minister?
Well, I think New Zealanders have shown extraordinary resilience. They've worked very hard for this
You
recovery.
see how it's always straight to a let's define the terms? Just answer it. How do you feel? I feel really good. I feel disappointed. I'd give myself a C. It's in the middle. No. Straight to New Zealanders need. It's like, this is not the question.
And I feel very clear-eyed. Now is not the time for expensive new taxes, for a return to reckless fiscal management. Thank goodness we're here, because now is the time we need to be backing employers and businesses, fast-tracking those private sector projects, getting them through the consent process so they can get started, whether that's housing developments, the Auckland Port expansion or others. We really need to be ensuring we're opening those new export markets. We need to be getting the red tape out of the way, whether that's in the ag sector or elsewhere.
Totally.
So we're the government doing that stuff.
All right.
So it is a comparison game, politics.
What about
it's not just are things tricky. It's, are these guys doing a better job than the other guys would? And I'm confident we are.
Minister, I want to talk.
So literally no question there. How do you feel about growth this year? No answer. Could you understand why? Because, it's been pretty abysmal. And look, I want to be fair always. Chewie, maybe not so much. I want to be fair. And the fair thing to do is to judge them on how they judged the last lot and to judge them on the standards they set for themselves. And there's no way the last lot came out talking like that they'd let them go. And then, as I said, the standards they set for themselves was basically, I am paraphrasing, we're going to fix the economy. Everyone's going to be doing better. We're going to get back on track. And they're not. So we judge them based on that standard as well. And now it's all, well, the tariffs and, external forces and, this is the path and eventually it'll come down. That's not what you were saying before the election. You're hyping everybody up to be the business people and the people to get the economy back up and running. And you haven't done it. Let's start from there. It's an honest conversation. Chewie.
Yeah, 100%. Like the stuff that they're crowing about winning, like let's say interest rates. Like National have always had this really weird perception that a government has a massive effect on a country's interest rates. It's just not like that. We're a small trading nation. So we're heavily affected by what happens overseas, but they are trading on a more simplistic view of it, that if you do stimulus, then inflation will come. And that is true to a degree, but there are so many other factors. And here they are, they're working out, well, it's coming down. It was trending down before you got in.
Yeah.
Like you're just carrying the bucket now. And you can't take that and blame something else on the other guys. It's incredibly see-through, but there are so many people that will take it. They will take that headline, they'll take that social media post, and they'll just run with it.
Let me say this as well, and obviously everyone watching now knows where we sit politically, firmly on the left. But if one of the major parties on the left, like if Labour promises us the earth before the election and gets back in and they don't deliver, they'll get the same criticism. It's funny because I feel like of all the parties, probably Te Pāti Māori and the Greens, even if you don't agree with their ideologies, are the ones that will always stand by what their ideology is. I can't imagine either of those parties, for good or bad, flip-flopping. So the ones on the left that need to stay the course are Labour, who are obviously closer to the centre. And it's the same. If you make promises before the election, Labour, especially if we get behind the left in general to help get someone elected and you don't fulfill, we're not, in fact, we'll probably be harsher, because it's like, if you're on my team and you're, fucking our chances for the follow one because you're not doing it, then you'll probably get more of a, I was going to say tongue lashing. Can I say tongue lashing? That sounds weird saying that out loud.
And look, this comes back to, the language that Luxon has used about the opposition parties being activists and ideological and all of this sort of stuff. Everything about politics is ideology. Like, they're going to put out there that their economic view or tactics is just straight math. 1 + 1 = 2. It's not ideological. It's
Show
just
off.
this. The other guys, they're ideological. It is ideological.
Yeah.
Everything that they're doing is. Their ideology is when times are tough, we're going to tell people that we're going to tighten the belts. We're going to cut government spending. We're going to cut money coming from the government to the economy because that's what people do. And it's a very simplistic view. Now, they're going to keep parroting that, and they do, that government spending is down. But they've cut taxes. They've given away money for roads. Like, their roading program, like one road north of Auckland is going to gobble up, $1 out of every 10 for the next 30 or 40 years of our roading budget. They are spending money, and they're spending money like on stuff that isn't productive.
Yeah.
Labor's view would be when times are tough, we spend money because we can get that money cheaper. And then when times are good, then we cruise. That's the ideological difference.
Yeah.
One of them means that the average person, the average wage earner, just has to suck it up. Because business owners and landlords, they're the ones with the money. They've got to be the ones first cab off the rank. On the other side, the left side, that's reversed. Business looks after itself and the economy is made of people. That should be a really good way to decide where you sit.
Yeah.
I know where I sit.
Very good. A couple of chats in there. I think both. Yep, both from Arvid's. Arvid says, if Simeon comes on, please open Discord or just me. I'm assuming Arvid's are saying for questions. I was suggesting that we try and get Simeon for Craig's podcast, but we'll see. I mean, like I said, I emailed Eric Stanford the other day, didn't expect to hear back, didn't hear back. I think that we probably will get access next year because they kind of have to. So what you guys can do watching to help us get Luxon on here next year is actually help us grow. I mean, if we're too big to ignore, then they'll have to come on because they'll need to get their messages out there. Arvids also says, remember the $2.9 billion stimulus to landlords. Yeah, I mean, this is what we talked about, well, I guess every night, not just last night, that the economy is just about choices. So Lifeline is having to shut down between midnight and 7 a.m. And the other group, which nuns I don't know so well, Whakamatutu, is closing altogether because there's not funding. But they made the choice to give $2.9 billion back to landlords. So who made that choice?
And a huge amount of money to I Am Hope. They put all of their eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Yeah, true. And Daniel also says wasting 6.3 million on restaurant reviews. You see the big news about today? Oh, the Michelin stars coming to New Zealand and it's going to be out. And it's like, oh, fuck. The cost of living. The most expensive restaurants in the country are going to become more expensive starting news at 6 p.m. It's like, well, okay. Well, people, while we're getting stories, and I haven't managed to connect with the Zero Hunger Collective, we're getting stories that people on benefits aren't able to provide the basics at the moment. 1 in 4 children are in a food, like they don't have enough food in their house. And it's like, well, yay, Michelin star restaurants. It's like, come on, dudes. Come on.
Michelin star restaurants, more big concerts at the, Eden Park. Just good, solid, relatable policy.
All right. Should we keep trucking? Let's keep trucking, eh? Just
Yeah.
good. Hello. You all right?
Ah!
You enjoying the show? Can we keep going? Is that all right? We'll keep going? Okay, we'll keep going. Just checking in. Let's do Chloe on Heather du Plessis-Allan and how offended Heather du Plessis-Allan seemed to be. It's not really just around homeless people, but it's around the ones that are a bit shouty what do we do with the ones that are a bit shouty there? What do we do with that? Now, I have actually cut this first part for you, Chewie, because we jokingly said, well, we were joking when we said it, but I think we were kind of thinking probably so joking about Sonny Cashel. Well, it's come out that Sonny Cashel's group was absolutely the people who were suggesting the getting rid of homeless people. It's come out, and in fact, it's so out there that Heather du Plessis-Allan uses it as part of her introduction to Chloe Swarbrick. Have a listen.
Now, the fallout continues from the government's plan to deal with Auckland's homeless. It turns out the idea originally came from Sonny Cashel's crime advisory group. And the original idea was not to ban homeless, but to introduce move-on orders. Chloe Swarbrick is the MP for Auckland Central. Hi, Chloe.
Kia ora.
You okay with the idea of a move-on order?
Well, look, I welcome the government's long overdue focus on Auckland, but what the evidence shows is that this is not actually going to solve the problem. It merely moves it along. In the last week or so, I have re-engaged with Minister Mark Mitchell, who's back on deck, and I am feeling as though there's a constructive way through this. I think that it is rather hysterical for the government to respond to an issue of its own making, that is increased homelessness, by coming down hard on criminalising those who it has made homeless. So I think it's time for us to get to the core root issues here and to invest sensibly to resolve them.
Okay, so if you don't like the idea of move-on orders and you don't think it works, what should we do? What's a better idea?
Put them in homes.
Yeah, well, look, I think obviously...
Yeah.
Build houses.
How do you solve the problem with people not having homes? The homelessness situation.
Obviously, what is really clear is that the issues that have been identified by a number of my constituents and a number of small businesses, particularly in the city centre, is the fact that there are a number of people who are using our streets as kind of a third space, which makes sense given that emergency housing is not a particularly nice place to spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then, of course, we also have those who are still not getting access to housing. So a form of day centre, which is something which I've been advocating for a long time, along with a number of other service providers, where people are able to use that space to have a cup of tea and to engage with wraparound support services, would be a far better use of resources.
Isn't there a place like this, a kitchen?
And then they spend like the next minute talking about a place in Auckland that used to do that, and it still does that, and the cafe is still there, and Chloe's like, yep, the cafe is still there, but they don't do this thing. It is I guess there is a kind of valid question to ask about, if you have day spaces, what do the homeless do overnight? Part of the conversation. But then we get into the part of the conversation, and it's a little bit long, but I want to play it because I want to play for you and I think I can say this, what appears to be the epitome of kind of white fragility, Karen fragility, pearl clutching, talking about people with, because you know, the ones that shout are the people with the most serious mental health issues on the street. And Heather du Plessis-Allan just won't let it go. But what about the ones that shout? What about the ones that are mean? What about the ones that shout? And Heather du Plessis-Allan comes to the conclusion, well, they should just be locked up overnight. That would be the best solution. So yeah, it's 3 minutes, this whole clip. I don't know if we'll come in and out, but I wanted you to hear all of it. So let's get through it.
Running.
Okay, I mean, Chloe, but we're not talking about nice people who are just sitting around having a chat, right? We are talking about people who shout at other people, who cause a nuisance, who are actually threatening and disruptive. What do you do about them?
Yeah, so look, again, engaging directly with service providers and actually with our beat cops in Auckland City Centre, the police themselves are the first to say that they are not equipped or resourced to deal with social issues. And even if they were to move people along, which they kind of do on a day-to-day basis at the moment, that doesn't stop someone from popping back up in the exact same place the next day. Right now, it seems like really the only place that these people can end up being put is being held overnight in the cells.
Yes.
Again, that doesn't go anywhere near towards resolving the problem.
Yes, but
That yes, just so you know, Heather, that yes was a bit aggressive and a bit quick. That come into holding them, yes, in the cells, yes. It was just there was a little bit too much stank behind that yes.
Is
So
that
what
not
the police are
better?
telling-
Is it not better, Chloe, for the person who's got a shop there, that person is not there overnight and is in the cells? I mean, it's not ideal, but it is a better situation, isn't it?
I mean, you've kind of hit the nail on the head by saying it's not ideal. And if we're seeing this as a
But it's
pipeline
better.
for criminal... this is a pipeline into the criminal justice system, and if we want to talk about spending good money after bad for worse and worse results.
Yes, we do. Chewie, I'm looking at your face. You look perplexed. It looks like you're almost surprised that Heather du Plessis-Allan is saying exactly what I said she was going to say. It felt like when you actually hear it from her own mouth, you're like, what the? But I've told you. This is what literally she just says, lock him up.
Just maybe we could build some sort of camp situation.
Surround it with alligators.
Yeah.
Call it Alcatraz.
Yeah, look, is this just part of her background?
I don't know.
Being someone that's run away from South Africa when things got a little bit difficult and there was kind of a little bit of shift in power. Maybe that's her frame of reference. That's her complete lack of empathy or understanding. She's completely insulated from this. It'll never happen to her. So why should she waste any time? Like, this is what the police are for, right? Scooping up the mentally ill and the unfortunate.
Yeah.
No, that's a fantastic use of the police's time.
I
Like, we
think
can't possibly help people because landlords have got to get their pound of flesh. We can't balance the two. It's just crazy. No country has solved this.
Yeah.
No country has even tried. Don't look at the programs where they looked at a UBI. Don't look at programs where cities built a whole bunch of basic little tiny cottages for people to fucking live in so they could at least feed themselves, be safe at night, have a shower, all of that sort of thing. Don't point social services at where those homeless people are to see what they need, whether it's mental health support. You know, don't do any of that. Just fucking put them in the cells. It's genius.
In my opinion, there's an obvious demarcation line between the left and the right. And I know there'll be some crossover towards the centre, but let's just leave it at that. Whereas the left want to help and the right want to punish. The left want to go of the homeless situation. Yes, this is a problem. How do we stop the problem? The right want to go, yes, this is a problem. How do we punish the offender? Quote unquote, air quotes around that offender thing. And so what Heather du Plessis-Allan is doing here is she is going personal responsibility. They're in this situation now. It's up to them. That means we have to isolate the rest of society from them. They need to take responsibility for themselves. And the only way we can do that is to remove them to a cell overnight. Whereas what I hear in Chloe's voice and the general talk of left is, but that doesn't solve the problem because then they're in that same doorway tomorrow night. We need to help the situation so that there's not someone in that doorway who needs to be there homeless, rather than every single night picking them up and putting them in a cell. Oh, guess what? The next night they're there again, picking them up and putting them in a cell. So that's the right solution. Punish, punish, punish. You're responsible for yourself. No matter what happened in your life, punish, punish, punish. And the left is like, we, the community, are somewhat responsible for you because you are a product of us. Now let's find a solution for you. And that to me is one of the big sort of differences that I see between the left and the right, and why I much prefer to sit on the left, because it's more about we than me. The right's about me, the left's about we.
Personal responsibility is all well and good, but there are so many people that hide behind that as a way of saying, I don't give a fuck about anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never going to have to deal with this. I'm insulated, that sort of thing. But they ignore just the pure part of humanity. What got us to society at this level is that we fucking look after people.
Yeah.
You don't go, oh, you've got a broken leg. Well, good luck with the wolves. We're fucking off now. We stopped doing that in prehistory. Heather du Plessis-Allan would be fine with that as long as she's telling the guy with the broken leg that the saber-toothed cats are getting a bit close. Good luck with everything. You're on your own. Oh, she's a horrible woman.
All right, well, we'll keep going. This has actually got 2 minutes to go, this clip. We came in very early. We'll keep listening to what Chloe's got to say in the situation.
We know that it costs $200,000 per prisoner per year.
I know. But don't give me the problems and how complicated this is, because I know that. What do we do about the situation if you don't want them to be moved on, what do we do?
So this is
Build
exactly what I was saying at the
houses.
start. We need to fund more of these day
Yeah, but you're
centres.
talking about a day centre, Chloe, for people who are, going to be cooperative. I'm talking about the ones who are lying around
The
doing
shouty
drugs,
ones.
shouting at people, walking around being difficult. What do you do about them?
And I'll just say this again: the ones with the worst mental health issues. What do we do with them? Just lock them up and throw. If only they still had those places like, what was it, Lake Alice? Is that one of the places? We could put them all there.
Well, that's where the social service support, and again, many of those outreach kind of people within community are funded by many of those social service providers, the likes of which I'm meeting on Friday morning. Where
Can
we will
they
be
go
putting
and get
forward
those
some-
people and take those people away?
There would be the opportunity for those outreach.
Have you seen that movie where Ewan McGregor, they have a place where people have clones of themselves, and the people who are the clones aren't aware that they're clones of themselves because they're only there for when the real person out in the real world gets lung cancer, and then they take the clones and they cut their lungs out of them, they put them in the real person, and all of a sudden these people who are the clones, they get taken away, and all the people who are the clones in this area think, oh, they've gone off to a bit, they won the prize, they won it, they're able to go off, and it kind of feels like that. It's like, just take them away. It's like the people who are around them, like, oh, they're no longer here, they've gone away. In the American cartoon, it's like the puppy's gone up to the farm. It's now living on the farm. They've just gone away. And everything's fine. It doesn't matter if they were fed into a meat grinder after they were taken away, because they're no longer in a doorstep having a mental health issue. So as long as I can't see them, then the problem is solved. That's what it comes down to, Chewie.
Back in the 40s, the 30s and 40s, there was a government program to deal with society's undesirables, and they would pick them up and put them in a van and drive them somewhere else. Problem is that they vented the exhaust into the passenger compartment. And they did that for a wee while until it became just not efficient enough. So they built camps. Like, I feel like someone like Heather du Plessis-Allan would be the person that was cheering on this new government program of these vans that would pick people up, because she wouldn't have to deal with the raggedy edges of humanity when she walks around the high fashion shops in central Auckland.
And people are asking, and you'll correct people in the chat, it's called The Island, that one. So that's the actual movie.
Not a bad film.
No, not a bad film. All right, I think about 60 seconds.
Workers to directly connect with people, and then to put them into the likes of these day centres to connect
Against
with
their will.
support. I mean,
That's what I'm talking about, the uncooperative ones. What do you do about the uncooperative ones? It seems to me the only thing you can do is chuck them in jail or move them on.
Well, that is currently what is happening. If somebody,
So this is the whole thing, out of sight, out of mind. When you move them on, then what? Like, literally, Heather, then what? So you've moved them on from central Auckland to Avondale, then what? Then they're homeless shouting at the Avondale shops. Then what? Then you move them on to Glen Eden. Sorry, Trey.
This is a person that's never had a human relationship, who's never had to build a relationship. Like, she doesn't understand what social workers do.
That's true. She's married to Barry Soper, so you've hit that on the head.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a very mechanical relationship, and I don't like it. But yeah, it's like, this is what social workers do. They build relationships. They go and they talk to the shouty person, and they build trust, and they build a relationship, and they help that people. They put in the fucking work rather than go on talkback radio and say, there's a smelly shouty man down the road. He should be jailed for existing somewhere where I may perceive him.
And this is exactly what we're coming back to. Matt Ducey, the Minister for Mental Health, right? This is exactly the
Great
scenario.
name.
While you're pledging to do all these things, while Karen Shaw is talking about education around alcohol, and you are cutting funding for the areas that help the mental health issues, that help educate about alcohol and stuff. So you can't have it both ways.
is being immensely disruptive and bordering on violence or otherwise, then that is the role for the police, and that is how they are currently responding.
But you know that doesn't happen that much because you live around there.
I do live in the city centre, and again, I think this is where But again, this is where I come back to. If we actually want to tangibly, meaningfully, and practically resolve these issues, then, as you say, there are some people who are at the most egregious end where it may be more appropriate for there to be a different kind of response. But what I am saying is that for the vast majority of people who are experiencing homelessness or who are currently put in emergency housing, which is not fit for purpose, then they are using the streets as effectively a third space. And that is where we can have serious and meaningful investment in these day centres, connect that up with outreach workers who are working with these social service providers, which looks like a far better and far more meaningful investment than simply kicking the can down the road where the issue gets worse and worse and worse as a pipeline into the criminal justice system.
Okay. Chloe?
There you
Yes.
go. Yes, the Queen speaks and we listen. It's frustrating. Like people, it really irks me when people talk about, these difficult people or these shouty people or these smelly people, and I just kind of think, you mean the ones that need the most help, the ones that actually need wraparound help and care, the stuff that you guys talk about all the time, national-led government. Should we talk about boot camps again? Wraparound care. You talk about this stuff all the time, and then you cut funding from Lifeline, or you don't fund enough. You cut funding from, I'm going to go find the word again because I can't remember, Whakamaatutu. You cut funding from them, and they close down. Whilst you're saying, what do we do with the shouty people? When the answer is help them with their mental health, and you're cutting money being spent in mental health. Matt Ducey, we might play this. Actually, maybe we'll play this now. Matt Ducey was talking about, he didn't even have a clue that Lifeline was losing funding. He's the Minister for Mental Health, and he had no idea. So, but actually, we will do that now. But is there anything you want to say before, because it's only 2 minute story. Is there anything you want to play before I play that?
No, let's roll into it.
Well, it just kind of feels that it would be, this wasn't something we'd tease, but it feels like seeing we're talking about it, this would be an appropriate point to sort of chuck it in there. Yeah. So let's have a look at the story around what's happening with Lifeline.
One of New Zealand's longest running helplines has been forced to cut it to hours. Lifeline will stop answering calls between midnight and 7 a.m.
I'm sure nothing bad happens between midnight and 7 a.m. with mental health issues. I'm sure that's a perfectly okay time. Monday to Friday, I'm sure it's fine.
It blames on a lack of government funding. And while the service has repeatedly contacted the Mental Health Minister about the matter, Matt Ducey's not aware of it. Here's senior political reporter Benedict Collins again.
Every year, tens of thousands of Kiwis who are struggling get in touch with Lifeline.
Hiya, this is Liza from Lifeline.
They're here to help people in their toughest hours.
Our team put together about 5,000 safety plans, which are people that are really struggling with mental health, maybe even considering.
Think about that. Let's do the math. 5,000 safety plans. 360, other way around, isn't it? 5,000, divided by 365. It's like 14 a day. 14 a day. That's huge. That's huge. People going through mental health issues to try and get down. 14 people a day. I would think more often than not, probably younger people as well, a day.
Taking their own lives. So that Lifeline is a really critical service.
Now Lifeline is having to reduce its hours, no longer operating 24 hours a day. From midnight till 7 a.m, no one will be answering calls for help.
One of the unfortunate things is that sometimes people, if they call us, for example, at 3 a.m, they're really struggling.
That sounds incredibly concerning. We know that people need mental health support around the clock, particularly during some of those late hours. And so I certainly think the government should be looking at what's happening here and whether or not they're investing in the right places.
Unable to get government funding, Lifeline faces a $2 million shortfall.
Do you think this could result in more suicides? Well, as I say, there's a number of government-funded telehealth lines out there, 1737, earlier mental health response line, youth line as well.
The Deputy Prime Minister has experience with helplines, and he donated his money from Dancing with the Stars to Kids Line.
I have to tell you that created more mental health issues, that scene right there, than almost anything that's ever happened on television in New Zealand. Sheesh.
I've had a long connection with telephone counselling and Lifeline. I volunteered for them, I donated to them, and I'm sorry to hear they've lost a contract or don't have the same funding they used to, but I understand the Minister responsible has to make tough decisions sometimes.
Lifeline hoping the Mental Health Minister will meet with them.
We've been in touch with the Minister's office over the last year. Their office encouraged us to apply for the Mental Health Innovation Fund. We were advised last month that our application was declined.
Matt Ducey, though, seemingly unaware Lifeline has been seeking a lifeline.
I'm not aware they have.
Now it's Lifeline that's in need of some help.
Take care.
Benedict Collins, One News.
And here's the thing, I've just done some numbers off the cuff, and I was going to say, imagine there was 10 people working overnight. There wouldn't be that many doing Lifeline. There'd be 3 or 4, I would think. But if there was 10 people overnight, right, at minimum wage, that's 7 times 10 is 70 hours, $20 an hour, whatever it is $150 a night. It's about $500,000 a year to fund that for 10 people. So realistically, it's probably 3 people. So you're probably looking at $170,000 a year. And if it was that $500,000 mark, that's 0.02% of the $2.9 billion they gave to landlords. So why, ministers, did you make the choice to fund 99.98 100% to landlords rather than just funding them 99.98% of that and give the 0.02% to Lifeline so they could keep on going? Choices. It's just choices. Everything to do with money and budgets and the economy for any government is just choices. And they're choosing to go, nah, to Lifeline. Just like the teachers, they're choosing to go, nah, got no money for that pay rise. Of course, if I was a professional, I'd have it queued up. We all know what Judith Collins says. The money will be found because the money has to be found. Guess what? Suicidal teenagers, money doesn't have to be found. Nah.
But maybe Judith Collins is the answer. Like if you call Lifeline at 3 o'clock in the morning and can't get through, they will instantly
Judith's cell phone,
a brand new Navy helicopter to your location, give you a free helicopter ride to cheer you up a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, this is not what we're about. I utterly reject what these guys think this country should be. Like, to see all of that raw care and empathy and emotion in Matt Ducey's voice.
Did you say douchey? Did you say douchey on purpose?
Yes, and I will continue to say it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I stand by my words and actions.
Okay.
Like, you saw that clip, chat. You heard his voice. Did that man sound like he gave a single solitary shit or even knew what the fuck was going on? And then we crossed to David Seymour, who goes, I've done this, that, and the other thing. I'm not going to do anything else, though.
Now that I have the power to make a change, I'm not going to use my power to make a change, but I'm glad I raised 50 grand for them when I could.
Yeah, because it made me look good, well, goodish. It got me on Dancing of the Stars, which is an act thing, weirdly enough. I don't know why.
Oh, Rodney Hyde. Dropping
but
people.
Again, that tells you what it's about. It was about optics. It was about making him look good rather than making a fucking difference, an actual difference. Because this is when he could put his reputation on the line if he had one. Like, these guys that just don't give a fuck. They don't want to help us. And if there's anything, like all of there will be so much discussion about, well, maybe they just did into the election. Vote based on their choices, not what they said, what they've done. They've shown us who they are. They've shown themselves to be mean. They've shown themselves to be against the majority of New Zealanders. They've shown themselves to be poor economic managers. They've shown themselves to be incompetent, and they've shown themselves to be fucking liars. I'm only going to get more angry.
I feel like this is the moment we need to have the little Chewie foo-foo come across the screen and do like a Chewie foo-foo. We can do overlays now. Maybe we'll get one made. Emily, you listening?
Yes.
I'll talk it later. Okay, look, guys, lots of chats coming in, lots of things going on. We are going to wrap up with Kieran and the Bish, I think, tonight. But before we do that...
Kieran and the Bish.
Peter says, Nats, the only infrastructure is roads, not water, power lines, ferries, green energy, healthcare. Nah, Just roads. Arvids poses the question, can they do tiny homes for homeless people? Seems to be their answer for hospitals. Tiny homes.
So someone
tiny
talked
people.
about maybe Dunedin will get a new thoracic surgery ward, but it'll be a marquee in a Wilson's car park.
Heather du Plessis-Allan is shouty. Can we move her along? Yeah, move along.
Lock her up.
There, maybe.
Those vans that I talked
overnight.
about earlier.
Lock her up overnight, yeah. James says, if the government can lock people up overnight, they can also find them homes to stay in overnight. I just want to say one thing about what do you do with the homeless? You find them a home. I think what you do with the homeless, first of all, is address significant mental health issues in the people that choose sort of to be homeless, or they don't have the capacity or function right now to live a normal in-housed existence. So yeah, I'm sure some of them, give them a home, that's what they need. Other ones, actually the mental health issue is the biggest thing to solve on the path to getting them a home. So I guess what I just want to earmark is it's not just about providing homes for some homeless, for some unhoused people. There are some pretty big issues to help to be sorted out as well, to get them in a place where they're then able to benefit from being provided with accommodation as well.
So health needs funding. Social workers need funding. And then they need housing. And then they can start to rebuild an actual functional life. You can't tell me people want to sleep in a doorway in the middle of fucking winter or in a tent by the Oval down here in Dunedin in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
That's not someone going, yes, this is the right choice for me. That's people going, this is the only choice I have.
I sometimes take the dog to the Oval to run her, and it's kind of sounds weird, but it's like almost like the only thing that's more upsetting than seeing tents there is the next time I go seeing fewer tents there, because I'm like, shit, what's happened to that person? There was like 6. I mean, like, I hope it means there are solutions being solved somewhat, but because you hear people like Heather du Plessis-Allan just wanting to disappear people, I'm like, where are those people that were down here in this little community beforehand? And so it fills me with dread. Kiwi Bird says we need Julianne Genta to deliver another report to Douchey. Over Red Rover, personal responsibility, not an issue till you're laid off. And then there's one from Kiwi Bird that says, can we lock up Heather du Plessis-Allan? She's too shouty. It's a bit of a theme there, isn't it?
Even from an economic point of view, like, it costs less money to do these things, these touchy-feely programs of, like, as I said, building a relationship, finding out what people want, helping people out of their situations rather than trying to punish them out of it. It costs less. It takes longer, but it costs less than throwing one of these people in jail for a year, where they're not going to get better. They're going to get worse.
Yeah. All right. I think we should go to what is probably our last story for the night, I think. And that is because we love look at that cheeky look. Look at that sideways cheeky look from Mr. McAnulty.
I'm going to fucking wreck this dude.
No, because the interviewer, it's Chris Chang, isn't it, just said something that they came dressed alike. And that was the look from Kieran to Chris Chang when he was basically saying, are you telling me I look like him? That was the look. He
Two men in a suit. Who would have thought?
But they started the conversation talking about Te Pāti Māori and about, I think this is a really good, like, we've been talking about, the Labour in particular not stepping on the Greens when they can. I think Kieran makes really masterful decisions here as to how to talk about Te Pāti Māori, which is basically saying, well, we're going to be competing with them. So in our ideal, we're not going to be looking to form a coalition because we're competing with them. I actually think that's quite a good place because it's not stomping on them. It's not having to say, no, we're not going to work with them. It's actually saying this is a competition. So there's no point having the conversations around coalition or not until the competition's done. And if we were going to be like sweet as to Te Pāti Māori, we wouldn't be competing against them, but we're trying to win those seats off them. So let's see if that happens first. So in other words, they're able to shelve this conversation in quite a logical way till after the election, which I think is quite an astute way to talk about it, and also very honest at the same time.
Chris, how much of a detriment is this potentially to Labor? We asked Chris Hipkins earlier in the week, would they rule it out working with them, and he's not doing so. Is this going to be detrimental for Labor to not do that?
Well, look, ultimately, I think most New Zealanders look at the chaos in Te Pāti Māori and say, goodness gracious me, what's going on? I mean, it's every day seems to produce a new, set of issues, and but basically there's no consensus between them. You've got John Tamahiri and you've got his faction, you've got the other faction. Half of them want to be leader. They're potentially talking about expelling a couple of the MPs, and you've got to remember there's only 6 of them in the caucus, so that's a third of the caucus would be expelled, and the ones they want to expel want to be the leader. So, look, it's pretty messy, frankly, and I think most New Zealanders look at it and say we want those guys nowhere near government, and ultimately whether or not they choose to work with them is a question for Chris Hipkins. Our position is really clear, which is we want nothing to do with them. They're not a party that can be trusted in government.
Kieran, do you think this is going to work against the Labor Party?
Well, I don't see why people would link the Labor Party to Te Pāti Māori, because it's really important we tell the full story here, is that, potential.
Yeah, but so is New Zealand First and ACT to National Party, and you don't have the same conversations. And I said, this is a really good way of looking at it, which is not to talk down Te Pāti Māori, but to go, we are competing with Te Pāti Māori. We want those seats, so let's do that first. I think it's a clean way to talk about this without kind of smashing on them and without therefore going, we're fine with whatever they do. It's a good middle ground. It's a clever conversation.
But it hasn't been locked in. And
remember the conversations around National and their potential coalition with New Zealand First last election?
Yeah. I don't even know who's Winston. I don't even know who Winston is.
I've never even heard of a Winston.
Who's he? I don't know.
Yeah, potential, but it hasn't been locked in. And what Chris Hipkins said is we're not ruling anyone in or out. We will make that decision closer to the election. We released policy on our own timetable. We're going to release this decision on our own timetable. And making it sound like that we are already formally linked with Te Pāti Māori is inaccurate. What Chris Hipkins actually said was that if this is the way they carry on, they won't be anywhere near government. And that's a pretty clear steer. And also, there is a piece of information here that seems to be overlooked. We're going to go into the election trying to win each of the Māori seats. Yeah. So you can't really say that we are in lockstep with the Māori Party, but we want to win all their seats.
Yeah, I think it's a really clear, and I think that, hello, sheesh, how are you, big face? Back again. Hey. I think it's a really clear, it's accurate, it's clear, it's clean, it's also not dumping on Te Pāti Māori. And yeah, I mean, how can anyone lumber us with being sort of beholden to this group we're going to try and win in the marketplace of ideas against, and then after the election we can talk then. It's good.
Yeah, no, really solid answer. There's a lot of comment on this in the chat, and I'm going to agree as well. Bishop is in the hut.
Mm-hmm.
He's the minister for the mighty hut. There's a lot of Māori people that live in the hut. You'd think at some point, if he's truly interacting with people in his electorate, he'd learn how to say Māori.
Yeah, I picked that up as well. But I mean, I here's the question though, right? Is it a tactic that he says Maori because of his voter base, or is he one of these Kiwis that just says, Wakawai and Maori and Taupo? And I mean, I think that it's lazy. But I know there are some people out there they've anglicized everything, and that's how they speak. It's not I'm the kind of person that won't defend them in doing it, but I also don't typically correct them if I'm interacting with them one-on-one. Speedlock says lazy.
Minister.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. Is it a tactic? He doesn't want to get a Facebook full of messages saying, why do you say it like that? Why do you say it like Te Pāti Māori say it? Maybe he just doesn't want that. So, but I don't know. I mean, it's worth asking. Perhaps worth asking. The next question, the next little clip as well, they're still talking about Te Pāti Māori, but Kieran makes a pretty bold statement. And it's interesting how I don't think Labour is necessarily actively trying to distance themselves from Te Pāti Māori. I think they're trying to distance themselves, as are the Greens, from the current ongoings, right? because there's stuff going on there. But I've never heard, I think, a would-be Labour minister, potentially, deputy prime minister, link themselves so closely to the Greens, because he is about to say that there's every chance at the next election it'll just be us and the Greens. Like Te Pāti Māori won't be quote unquote needed. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I thought it was interesting that they'd come out so strongly, kind of hitching themselves together, or certainly hitching Labour to the Greens so strongly. I've never heard it before this far out as strongly as this.
It's a question I don't think that the polling, when we get close to the election, will show that the Labour Party will need Te Pāti Māori. If we look at the trajectory of the polling compared to the last election and now, and we continue to build in the polls, my prediction is that when we get closer to the election, it'll show that the Labour Party and the Green Party will be able to form a majority and won't need Te Pāti Māori.
That's big talk, but there was quite a bit of talk about the Tai Tokerau by-election, for example, in which
I left this in because our Minister of the Crown didn't know where the by-election was. So I thought this is worth leaving in because it wasn't in Te Tai Tokerau, and Kieran points that out. So I kind of left this in to go, this is how far. That makes it kind of think to me he just doesn't care about, for example, Māori seats and stuff. So maybe that's the use of the word Maori, maybe that's just who he is.
Tai Tokerau by-election, for example, in which Peeni Henare is a senior Labour former cabinet minister, sort of the expectation was he would do quite well. And he got absolutely, respectfully, he got absolutely rinsed by the new Maori Party MP. So I think the idea that Labour's going to kind of walk back into...
You can't remember her name, that's why I said it like that.
The Maori seats is, I think, respectfully... probably a little bit idealistic.
Well, if the National Party stood candidates, I might take Chris Bishop's advice on the Māori seats, but they don't.
No, that's not true. We stood a couple of candidates in the last election in the Maori seats.
Well, my point, I suppose, is that do you need Kieran to make sure that actually...
But we did stand candidates, is my point.
Do you need to be proactive?
That the by-election, not Te Tai Tokerau. The second point is we also know that by-elections are completely different to general elections. And when the Māori Party candidate was standing in Tāmaki Makaurau and saying Peeni Henare is already in Parliament, the reason for the by-election was the death of Te Pāti Māori MP. That is a completely different scenario to a general election. And we're all saying that the behaviour of the Māori Party at the moment is not desirable. If that continues, I can't imagine that result will be repeated at the general election.
So he's basically saying he thinks that the voters won't vote for if there's that going on. Now, whether he's true or not, I don't know. Whether that's one step over the line to a potential coalition partner, I don't know. But I think it's better than what we've heard Chippy do in the past, which is like, basically make a statement that if you saw it as a headline, you'd think Luxon had said it. So I think he's found the middle ground there of basically going, look, we're fighting them for those seats. So don't look to us to be definitely being in the same camp as them. I think it's a good, I wonder if it's just Kieran or that's being workshopped, but I think that's quite a good response to not slamming a potential coalition partner, but also going, but we're not having a cup of tea, David Seymour. We're trying to fight these guys for the seats. So maybe they won't even be there to have this conversation. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with singing your own praises. Instead of jumping on to someone at a low moment, right? Like, I don't even think that would necessarily be a bad thing for Te Pāti Māori if they weren't needed to form a government. Because then they could
float and do what they want.
Yeah, I think you've said this before, right? Is it more behooves Te Pāti Māori to be able to sit and criticise whoever?
Well, I think that's an interesting, strong point, and I probably have said something like that before, but I do also think if you're not needed in government, then there's every chance you'll get nothing through. So because I can't imagine I can't imagine there won't be policy that, like the Greens, there's probably no policy, that maybe there is, if anyone can think of one, that the Greens wouldn't support that Te Pāti Māori would. Like I think they'll be in quite the same sort of situation. Sorry, you're going to say?
No, I think, sorry, I'm just trying to remember now. It was around the discussions of a potential overhang.
Or are you talking supply and confidence? Like the other option, and they've done this before, is like if there's not enough to form a government with Labour and the Greens, then they can get supplying confidence from Te Pāti Māori, and it might not mean that they're in cabinet or have ministers' positions, or they become ministers outside. Now, I think people know where we sit with Te Pāti Māori. I'm not. This is not me saying this is what I want for them, but we're just talking politics here. We're talking the game of politics, and that could be very much. I think there's a chance there could be. Let's say the numbers fell the right way. You could see a Labour Green government. You could see a Labour Green Te Pāti Māori government. You could see a Labour Green government with Te Pāti Māori and supplying confidence. I don't think what you would see is a Labour government with Greens and Te Pāti Māori in supplying confidence, or I don't think you'd see a Labour government, Te Pāti Māori government with the Greens in supplying confidence. So there's a couple of ways there if they're needed that they can be outside the cabinet. And that's the thing about being outside the cabinet. We've seen it in this term, if you are outside the cabinet, you don't have to adhere to the cabinet handbooks. You can speak your mind more if you want to, even if you're on the same team. If you're inside cabinet, it's like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in the cabinet room stays in the cabinet room, and you can't shirk from the story. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would think that Te Pāti Māori will want to be in government, i.e. ministerial portfolios and stuff. But I think I'm not just saying Kieran's played a good hand, meaning he's fudged it. I think what he's saying is true. I mean, there is the possibility, and I don't think it'll happen, and listening to people like John Tamihere, I don't think he thinks it'll happen, but there is the possibility that if Labour wins all those seats, there's no Te Pāti Māori after the next election. Now, I don't think that's likely, but there is a chance, which means Labour is at loggerheads with this party, first and foremost wanting their seats. Oh, you guys won all of them? Okay, let's talk. It is actually ruling in, ruling out. There's no point. We don't rule anyone in or out because we don't know if they're going to be there. So I think it's a accurate and fair way to talk about the relationship between Labour and Te Pāti Māori at the moment. But I think we all know that they'll want to go in together if they can. I mean, will Labour want to be with Te Pāti Māori? I would hope so. I would hope they'd want to have them involved. But then again, you have to appease three parties rather than two. So I don't know. That's why they get paid the big bucks, Chewie, and me and you sit here in our mum's basements talking to no one.
Look, I think a big part of it is, and this is why Nationals banging the drum so hard, right, is that they are scared of a government that involves Te Pāti Māori. So what my feeling is on that is good. Then that's what we should aim for. If it's putting the shits up you guys to the point that you're squealing this hard on your social media channels, we should absolutely do it. Yeah.
The people who are complaining show that it's like Simeon Brown having a crack at Craig. Craig goes, well, I'm doing the right thing. It's like this government bitching and moaning and squealing and lying about the CGT means perhaps the CGT is going in the right direction. Yeah. So that's a really interesting point. If Luxon, well, here's the thing. Yeah. It's one of two things. Either Luxon is concerned, National is concerned about having Te Pāti Māori in government, or they know it's red meat to their audience and they're just going to say it to continue to grow their own pie, and they don't really have a view on whether they want it or don't want it. It could be either of those things, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Anything else going on? I'm just having a look at emails and...
Look, it's not a particularly political commentary, but you said that you were watching a movie earlier. I was just going to say I went back into the archive last night.
Oh yeah.
The Rocketeer.
I don't think I've ever seen that. I know exactly what the poster is. I know what the poster is.
You absolutely should. You absolutely should. But look, some of it hasn't held up. It's from the early 90s. Some of the effects are a little bit ropey, but it's a fun movie. But what I like, Timothy Dalton, bad guy all the way through, appears to be a wealthy person, all of that sort of thing. And then he's using the mafia to try and get this rocket pack that this farm boy's found. Then in the end of the movie, it's revealed that Timothy Dalton is in fact a Nazi. And that is a bridge too far for the mafia, where they go, we're criminals, but we're fucking American criminals. We're not any of your Nazis. And they turn on him. And I'm like, yes, this is great. Go watch The Rocketeer. It's amazing.
The one I watched this evening actually is playing here.
I've been criticised already, by the way. Farm Boy. Oh, look. Sure. I was thinking of Luke Skywalker. There you go.
Ballad of a Small Player. It's on Netflix. It's made for Netflix. Colin Farrell plays a lord. He's a lord, where he pretends to be a lord, and he switches between an Irish accent and a posh English accent when he's trying to be the lord. He's a posh accent, and he's a gambler. And if you've seen the movie The Lobster, there are moments in this where if you haven't seen The Lobster, it's one of the craziest films ever, man. It's so out there. But there's moments with watching this, I'm like, this has that feeling, the vibe of The Lobster. It's a bit weird, it's a bit kooky, and there's some hidden things in there that I won't spoil for you, but yeah, it's on Netflix. It's on there now, so if you're interested.
I also have to apologise for the spoilers on a
Yeah, I know.
from the early 90s.
I was going to say that. I haven't seen it.
I'm sure you were going to get around to it at some point. Sorry for the
50th
spoilers.
anniversary of Jaws. Not to freak you out, Jaws dies at the end of it. Just
fuck.
Just and Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Just putting it
I
out
thought
there.
you were going to say Darth Vader was the shark. That would be
Dude. But then it wouldn't be dude. It'd be. Actually, you could do it as.
No, you could.
Yeah.
And then transition. Yeah, cool.
Sounds
Cool.
like we need to
That's in
get
my head now.
a DJ to spin some tracks and make that song for us. Yo, what up, G? I've just got lots of tabs open. I'm just going to flick through them. I'm pretty sure we've done everything, eh? Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did that. We think I got through quite a bit today, actually. It's because it's the end of the week. Everything goes quicker at the last day of the week for us, eh? I think that's what it is.
I'm going to take a page out of Magenta's book to finish. I'm going to finish with a meme, if you'll allow me.
I'll allow.
Not even 24 hours and Mamdani has already taken down the Statue of Liberty and implemented Shakira law.
It's very funny. That's very funny. I always thought you were doing. Did She-Hulk ever get another series? I was just looking at the image and made me think of She-Hulk.
No.
She-Hulk was quite good.
Didn't.
Because it was silly, and it was supposed to be silly, and it had.
And I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
yeah,
it. But Marvel fans, it's like, there's a woman in it.
Yeah. I don't know what those are. I've never met one other than my mum, as I live in her basement, like us. All right, team. I'm not going to belabor the point about the awards and stuff. I haven't done any. Spiel on it or anything.
Go. If you voted, go and grab someone that hasn't. I don't care if they've never seen us before. Force them. Force them to vote for us.
I was just going to do real super cash, like, yeah, it'd be good if you could do it, but you've brought it up and pushed it. So let me just put that up in the top.
Casual.
That up in the corner, and then people can grab it quick. It is coming up real soon, actually. I think voting finishes on the 14th. So 14th will be 7th is tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday? Friday. So it'll be next Friday. There we go. What happened to Nala? Were you worried about the QR code being confused?
You had emojis over your eyes and it was creepy.
Really? I don't think there are emojis other people can see, though, bro. Are you talking about all those 11, 6, 6, 7, 6, and that stuff?
Can people not see that?
I don't think so.
Oh, is that just for us? That's just
for us.
Okay, cool.
Secrets.
Cool. Shh. There you go. Nala goes back.
There's emojis here. Just here for us.
Grabby hands.
It says here, on my screen, it says live 138.01. Number of people watching, 672. It's got a thumb, a heart, a cuddle thing, and a grumpy face. I wonder who did the grumpy face. All right, guys. Thanks for being with us tonight. That's that one there. That's the QR code if you want to go and vote for us at nzpodcastawards.com/nominate. And other than that, I think it's time for us to get out of here and leave you in the more than capable hands of Magenta and Emily for tomorrow night. Blessings upon you and yours. Why haven't I got a thing? There it is. And yeah, have a great weekend.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line decide the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a warpath to run, linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by what Chewie and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
Any words of wisdom you want to leave us on, Chewie?
No, I have no wisdom. Only rage.
We will leave you with Chewie Rage as we go out. It's a Friday, and we'll catch you again here from Monday night for the next edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo, team.
Cheers, fam. Oh, Nella.